Hi everyone! In the next several videos, we're going to talk about slope of a line and different methods of finding it. What is the slope? Slope is a number that describes the steepness of a line. In other words, every single line has a certain number that associated with it that we call a slope, and it measures its steepness. Well, since slope is a number, we have options for what it can be. It can be some positive number, it can be equal to 0, or it can be a negative number. And there's also one special case where line does not have a slope. So let me add pictures here to tell you what kind of number the slope is for what kind of lines. So positive number. So slope would be a positive number for any line that's increasing. So in other words, it kind of goes up the hill if we travel from left to right. Any horizontal line would have a slope that equals 0. So it's neither increasing or decreasing. So no steepness, right? And if a line is decreasing, then its slope will be a negative number. Decreasing line is such that when I travel along that line from left to right, I will be going down the hill. And finally, undefined slope. If line is vertical, then it's not going to have a slope. We'll say that the slope is undefined for any vertical line. Okay, so based on all that, we can see that slope not just measures the steepness of the line, but it also measures the direction or describes the direction. So by looking at the slope and whether it's positive number or negative number, we can see if it's increasing line or decreasing line. And what else I have to add here is that the way numbers work when we talk about slope is that further away that number from 0, steeper the line is. It can have either increasing direction or decreasing direction, but more steepness it has, further away the slope or that number that we call slope will be from 0. In other words, line that has slope 2 is steeper than line that has slope 1. Okay, well, that's all good to know, but how do we find the slope? How do we determine what it is for the given line? Well, there are different methods, and we're going to talk about 3 different methods of determining the slope. So the first one that we're going to discuss is the method such that to determine the slope of a given line, we have to look at the line. In other words, we need its graph. And this is how we're going to think about measuring the slope. We're going to pretend that we have a staircase that goes along the given line. And as with any normal staircase, steps should have same height and same width. So I'm going to try to construct a staircase like that. I just picked a convenient point so I can start it, and I should be able to construct a staircase like that for any given line, any given straight line. So this way. And then we're gonna kind of like talk about the steepness of the staircase. We know that staircase that's harder to climb will have higher steps and more narrow width. And the staircase that's convenient to walk along, right, will have a shorter height and then longer steps. So those features, height of each step and the width of each step, will be involved in calculating the slope. So when I say height of the step, let me make some notes here. So right here, that is the height of the step. And by the way, that height is the same as we said for all steps, right? So that height is 2 in this case, 2 units, 1, 2. So I can see that for each step. Well, and what is the width? So the width is 1, 2, 3 units. The width of each step is 3 units. And now to measure the slope of this line, we're gonna describe that the size of each step by taking, so I'm gonna say slope, by taking the height of each step and putting it over the width of each step, so 2 over 3. And that's gonna be the slope. The only thing that in math we actually don't use steps, or we don't use those words, height of the step or width of the step. We use different words. For the height of the step, we use the word rise. Well, and it makes sense because height goes up and down, right? So rise, it means that in the numerator here we have rise. And the width of the step we call run. And it also kind of makes sense that, you can run along that step. So run, rise over run. And that's how we usually say it. To find slope, take rise and put it over run. Rise over run. So I wrote it here, and I'll make, again, reminder for myself that rise, it's the vertical distance, or we'll also say vertical change. And the run is the horizontal distance or horizontal change, like that. Now there's a chance when we started talking about the staircase and building it along that line. Maybe you tried it on your own and you obtained different staircase. Maybe the steps in your staircase are larger, and that's totally possible. So for example, I can make bigger steps like that. I'm going to put them in red. Hopefully you can see. So I'm making bigger steps. So what if I do bigger steps? Does it mean that I'm gonna get different slope? Well, no, because remember, each given line has only one number that's associated with it that we call slope. It never changes. To change the slope, we have to change the line. We have to, rotate it so its stiffness is different. Slopes should stay the same, but how come we have bigger staircase now? Well, let's see what happens if we use that one. What is the rise or the height of the step? That is 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? That's the rise. And what is the run? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6 units. That's the width of the step or the run. And if I put those numbers together, rise is 4, run is 6. I obtain fraction 4 over 6, which is different. However, this fraction is not in the simplest form. I can simplify it, right? If I divide out 2, so in other words, I divide 4 by 2 and 6 by 2, I'm going to obtain exactly the same number that I got in the first place. So, see how it's exactly the same. So it means that when we're calculating slope, we want to put it in the simplest form, simplify the fraction. And now we can summarize the idea of this method. So to measure the slope, when we have a graph in front of us, this is what we're going to do. You don't really need to draw the entire staircase because, as you can notice, I was not using all steps. I only needed one step. So you basically only need to draw one step, and usually you do it by picking a good point on the graph such that you can easily count your steps. So it should be right on the grid. And then you go up or down to find the rise, and then right or left, depending which direction you're trying to go, to get to the next point on the graph. And then you put those two numbers together, well, in the right order, right? Rise, the vertical change on the top, and the run, horizontal change on the bottom. And you calculate the slope. Well, notice that when I describe this process, I said that you can go either up or down, right or left. And, that's true because I could start it here at this point and then go left and then down. So first run and then rise, even though numbers I still put in that same order, rise over run. But what's going to be the difference when we go up versus down or right versus left? Well, the numbers that we're going to use for rise over run will have different signs. So in general, this is how you can think about it. When you work with rise or the vertical change, in other words, you can go up or down. If you find yourself going up, then you're going to use positive number. And if you go down, then you'll have to use negative number. Now for the run, it's a similar idea. If I go to the right, then I have to use positive number. And if I go to the left, I need to use negative number. So let's check how, no matter where we start, we still get the same answer. So if I start at this point and go up 4 and then right 6, up and right, it means that they're both positive, and these are the numbers we actually used here, 4 over 6. But what if I start here, and I have to go left? Well, in this case, I have to use negative number. Instead of 6, I'll say -6. And then I'll have to go down. That means that instead of 4, I'll use -4. But what is -4 over -6? Negative over negative, or negative divided by negative, still gives me positive. So see, it doesn't matter in which direction you go, just follow the signs and use the correct signs. So that's method 1 for finding the slope of a line when you have its graph.